In the year 60 AD, Britain was a land cloaked in shadow under the iron heel of the Roman Empire. The Celtic tribes lived in a state of uneasy peace, their ancient lands and traditions overshadowed by the eagle standards of Rome. The air was thick with tension, a silent storm brewing on the horizon. In the heart of this simmering world, among the Iceni people of eastern England, lived a queen whose name would soon be etched in fire and blood. Her name was Boudica. Boudica was more than a queen. She was a symbol of her people's spirit, fierce, proud, and unbroken. Her husband, King Prasu, had tried to secure his family's future by naming the Roman emperor co-heir to his kingdom alongside his own daughters. He believed this act of diplomacy would protect his people. He was wrong. Upon his death, Rome saw not an ally, but an opportunity. They ignored the king's will, declared the Iceni kingdom their property, and descended upon the royal household with unimaginable cruelty. The Romans seized the Iceni lands, plundered their wealth, and sold their nobles into slavery. When Boudica protested, she was publicly flogged. Her 2 young daughters were subjected to the most horrific violation a woman could endure. This was not just an act of conquest, it was a profound personal humiliation designed to shatter the spirit of a queen and her people. But instead of breaking her, the Romans forged a warrior. From the ashes of her humiliation, a new Boudica arose. Her eyes, once filled with regal grace, now burned with a cold, unquenchable fire. She stood before her people, her back scarred but her spirit ablaze, and delivered a speech that would ignite a revolution. She spoke not just of her own pain, but of the collective suffering of all Britons under Roman rule, the stolen lands, the crushing taxes, the loss of freedom. Her voice, raw with grief and fury, echoed across the fields, uniting tribe after tribe under a single banner of vengeance. The Trenobants, the Catuvillani, and others, long divided, now flocked to her side, their war horns sounding a chorus of defiance. A mighty Celtic army, 100,000 strong, was born, and at its head rode Boudica, her long red hair flying like a banner of war, a spear in her hand and a promise of retribution in her heart. Their first target was the symbol of Roman oppression, Camulodunum, modern-day Colchester. The city was a settlement for retired Roman soldiers, a place built on stolen land. Boudica's army descended upon it like a tidal wave of fury. The city had no walls, its defenders were few, and the Roman veterans were caught completely by surprise. The Celts showed no mercy. They were not fighting a battle for territory, they were enacting a ritual of revenge. They swept through the streets, their war cries drowning out the screams of the Romans. Buildings were set ablaze, their flames licking the sky in a terrifying spectacle of destruction. The great temple of Claudius, a monument to the emperor who had conquered Britain, became a final, desperate fortress for the last Roman defenders. For 2 days they held out, but it was hopeless. Boudica's warriors stormed the temple, and Camulodunum was burned to the ground. Every man, woman, and child who could not escape was cut down. News of the massacre sent shockwaves through the Roman province. The Roman governor, Suetonius Paulinus, was hundreds of miles away, campaigning in Wales. He raced back with his cavalry, but he was too late. He arrived to find the city a smoking ruin. Knowing he couldn't defend the next major settlement with his limited forces, he made a brutal calculation. He would have to abandon Londinium. The bustling commercial heart of Roman Britain was next in line. Its citizens, a mix of Romans and pro-Roman Britons, pleaded with Suetonius to stay and protect them, but he refused, ordering an evacuation. Those who could flee did. Those who couldn't, the old, the infirm, the stubborn were left to face the wrath of the approaching Celtic horde. What happened next was a horrifying echo of Camulodunum, but on an even grander scale. Boudica's army fell upon Londinium with the same unrestrained fury. The city of merchants and trade became a city of fire and death. Archaeological evidence from modern-day London reveals a thick red layer of burned debris from this very event, a silent testament to the inferno that consumed the city. The Thames itself was said to have run red. The message was clear. Anything and anyone associated with Rome would be erased. From Londinium, the warpath led to Verulamium, today's St. Albans. This city was different. It was a town of native Britons who had embraced Roman culture and been granted Roman rights. To Boudica and her followers, they were collaborators, traders to their own heritage. The fate of Verulamium was sealed. It too was sacked and burned, its people slaughtered with the same ruthless efficiency. In a matter of weeks, Boudica's rebellion had wiped out the three most important Roman centers in Britain. An estimated 70,000 to 80,000 people perished in the flames of her revenge. The Roman province of Britannia was on its knees, teetering on the brink of collapse. Panic gripped the Roman Empire. The Emperor Nero was so shaken by the news that he considered abandoning Britain altogether. But Suetonius Paulinus was a hardened Roman general. He had gathered his legions, the 14th Gemina and parts of the 20th Valeria Victrix, and prepared for a final, decisive confrontation. He chose his ground carefully. A narrow gorge with a forest at his back, preventing him from being outflanked by Boudica's numerically superior force. The two armies finally met. On one side, 10,000 disciplined, battle-hardened Roman legionaries standing in silent, terrifying formation. On the other, a vast, chaotic sea of over 100,000 Celtic warriors, confident after their recent victories. They had brought their families in wagons to witness what they believed would be the final, glorious extermination of the Roman invaders. Before the battle, Boudica rode through her ranks in a chariot, her daughters beside her. She delivered one last powerful speech, urging her warriors to fight for freedom, for their families, and for revenge. She declared she would either win the day or die on that field. Then the battle began. The Celts charged forward in a massive wave, their cries shaking the very earth. But Suetonius held his nerve. He ordered his men to hold their positions until the last possible moment. As the Celtic wave crashed against the Roman line, he gave the order. The Romans unleashed a volley of heavy javelins, which tore through the charging warriors, breaking their momentum and creating chaos in their ranks. Then, the Romans advanced in their tight, wedge-shaped formations, a disciplined wall of shields and stabbing swords pushing into the disorganized Celtic mass. The narrow battlefield turned Boudica's greatest advantage, Humiliated, to her greatest weakness. The Celts were so tightly packed they could barely swing their long swords. The Roman legionaries, with their short, brutally effective gladius swords, cut them down methodically. The battle turns into a slaughter. The Sults tried to flee, but their path was blocked by their own wagons, where their families were now trapped. The Romans showed no mercy, killing warriors and civilians alike. By the end of the day, the field was silent, littered with the bodies of an estimated 80,000 Britons. Roman losses were counted in the mere hundreds. In the aftermath of the devastating defeat, Boudica's fate becomes a mystery. The Roman historian Tacitus writes that she took her own life with poison, choosing to die a free queen rather than be paraded through the streets of Rome in chains. Another account suggests she fell ill and died. Whatever the truth, her body was never found. She vanished into the mists of history, her final resting place unknown. Though her rebellion was ultimately crushed, Boudica's defiance left an indelible mark. She had come closer than anyone to driving the Romans out of Britain. She had razed their cities, shattered their aura of invincibility, and terrified an empire. Her story was a brutal, fiery testament to the human spirit's refusal to be broken. For centuries, her name was largely forgotten, but she was rediscovered in the Victorian era and reborn as a British national heroine, a symbol of freedom and defiance. Today, her statue stands proudly in London, the very city she once burned to the ground, a timeless monument to the warrior queen who dared to challenge the mighty Roman Empire. Her legend echoes through the ages, a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, one voice, one act of defiance can set the world on fire. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as captivating as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more epic tales from history.